I was lying in a stranger's bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling more empty than I had ever felt in my entire life. Mi phone buzzed. Another match. Another opportunity to do this all over again tomorrow night. I had become a machine, sweeping, matching, mating, repeating. Over and over for 5 years. Hundreds of encounters with people whose names I could not remember. And as I lay there in that dark room, something happened that I cannot explain. My eyes closed and suddenly I was somewhere else. Somewhere it had smelled like sulfur and echoed with screams. I was standing at the edge of a pit and I knew exactly where I was. I was looking into hell. And what I saw there changed everything. But I need to take you back to the beginning so you can understand how I ended up in that bedroom and what God did to pull me out of the darkest chapter of my life. I grew up in a Christian home. Church every Sunday. Youth group on Wednesdays. Summer camp every July. I knew all the right answers. I told quote scripture. I had accepted Jesus into my heart when I was 8 years old at a Vatican Bible school. My parents were good people. They loved me the best way they knew how. My dad worked hard to provide for our family. My mom made sure we were at every church event, every Bible study, every prayer meeting. From the outside, we were the picture-perfect Christian family. But something was missing even then. My father, though present physically, was emotionally distant. He showed love through provision, not through words or affection. I cannot remember him ever telling me he was proud of me. I cannot remember him ever sitting me down and talking about life, about struggles, about what it meant to be a man. My mom tried to fill that gap, but there was only so much she could do. I grew up with this undefined hunger inside me. A craving for validation, for approval, for someone to look at me and say that I mattered. I did not understand it at the time. I just knew that something felt incomplete. But somewhere along the way fight became routine. It was just something my family did, like eating dinner together or mowing the lawn on Saturdays. I went through the motions, but there was no fear. No real relationship. God was a concept I believed in, not a person I actually knew. I would sit in church and watch people raise their hands during worship, tears streaming down their faces, and I would wonder what was wrong with me. Why did I not feel what they felt? Why did God seem so real to them and so distant to me? I learned to fake it. I learned to say the right things, to look engaged, to perform Christianity without actually experiencing it, and nobody knew the difference. That was perhaps the loneliest part of my childhood. Being surrounded by believers but feeling completely alone. When I went to college, everything changed. For the first time in my life, I was on my own. No parents watching. No church community holding me accountable. No structure to keep me in line. I was free to become whoever I wanted to be. And the person I became was someone I barely recognized now. It started innocently enough. A party here, a few drinks there. I told myself I was just experiencing life, just being a normal college student. But the boundaries I had grown up with started to erode on a compromise at a time. Then I discovered the apps. I still remember downloading my first one. A friend had shown me how it worked. You create a profile, you swipe through pictures, and if someone likes you back, you match. Then you message. Then you meet up. It was that simple. That first night, I matched with someone within an hour. We met up the next evening. And something clicked in my brain that I did not understand at the time. It was the validation. The instant confirmation that someone found me attractive. The thrill of the chase. The excitement of something new. It lit up something inside me that felt like electricity. I was hooked immediately. had started as obsessional use became a daily habit. Would wake up and check me matches before I even got out of bed. Would sweep during class, during meals, during conversations with friends. Mi phone became an extension of my hand, a portal to endless possibilities. I started to structure my entire life around the apps. I would plan my weekends based on who I was meeting. I would cancel plans with friends if a better opportunity came along. I started spending money I did not have on dinners, drinks, and experiences designed to impress people I would never see again. My grade suffered. I went from being a solid student to barely passing my classes. I would stay out until 3 or 4 in the morning and then sleep through my lectures. Assignments piled up. Professors sent warning emails. I did not care. The apps had become my priority and everything else was secondary. My health suffered too. I was not sleeping properly. I was drinking too much. I was not exercising or eating well. I lost weight, then gained it back, then lost it again. My body was a wreck, but I barely noticed because I was so consumed with the chase. And the encounters multiplied. I am not going to give you numbers to shock you or to brag. There is nothing to brag about. But I will tell you that over the next 5 years I lost count. Completely lost count. People became profiles. Faces became pixels. Intimacy became transaction. I told myself I was living my best life. I told myself this was freedom. I told myself that the old rules did not apply anymore, that I was evolved beyond the outdated morality of my parents' generation. But the emptiness told a different story. Every encounter left me feeling more hollow than the one before. There was a brief hig, a moment of feeling wanted, and then nothing. Worse than nothing. A gnawing void had seemed to grow larger no matter how much I tried to fill it. I started to notice other things too. I could not connect with people anymore. Real connection, I mean. I had trained my brain to see others as options, as experiences to be had and discarded. When I tried to have a genuine conversation, I found myself getting bored, already thinking about who else might be out there, who else I had not met yet. I could not be alone with my thoughts. The silence terrified me. I had to constantly be sweeping, constantly be pursuing, constantly be distracted. Because when the noise stopped, I could hear something I did not want to hear. A voice that had told me this was not who I was supposed to be. I could not feel anything deeply. It was like my emotions had been numbed. Joy was muted. Sadness was distant. I moved through life like a ghost, present but not real later. And the shame. The shame was crushing. I would look at myself in the mirror and feel disgusted. I would think about my parents, about what they would say if they knew. I would remember the fight I had grown up with and feel like a fraud, a hypocrite, a lost soul. There were moments of clarity. Moments when I would delete the apps and swear I was done. I would last a day, maybe 2, sometimes even a week. I would start to feel like maybe I could be normal, maybe I could have a real relationship, maybe I could change. But then the loneliness would creep back in. The emptiness would become unbearable. The craving for that hit of validation would override every rational thought. And I would download the apps again, telling myself that this time would be different. This time I would use them responsibly. This time I would not let them control me. But every time was the same. Every time led deeper into the pit. I tried to date normally a few times. I met girls who were looking for real relationships, girls who deserved someone who could commit. But I sabotaged every one of those opportunities. The moment things started to get serious, the moment real intimacy was required, I would panic and run back to the apps. Real connection terrified me. Vulnerability felt like death. It was easier to keep people at a distance, to maintain control, to never let anyone close enough to truly know me. But also if they truly knew me, how could they love me? But instead of driving me to change, the shame drove me deeper into the behavior. It was a vicious cycle. I felt empty, so I sought validation. The validation left me emptier, so I sought more. The more I sought, the more shame I felt. And the more shame I felt, the more I needed to escape. The apps were my escape. My drug. My way of numbing the pain I did not want to face. 5 years. 5 years of this cycle. 5 years of chasing something that was always just out of reach. 5 years of slowly losing myself. And then came the night that everything changed. I had matched with someone earlier that day. We met up that evening. By this point, the routine was so familiar I could do it in my sleep. Same small talk. Same progression. Same emptiness waiting on the other side. Afterward, I was lying there in the dark. She had fallen asleep. I was staring at the ceiling, feeling that familiar hollowness settling in. And then my phone buzzed. Another match. I picked it up and looked at the screen. Another face. Another possibility. Another chance to feel something for a few fleeting moments. But this time something broke inside me. I stared at that screen and I saw me life laid out before me. Years stretching into the future, an endless parade of strangers, an endless search for something I would never find this way. I saw myself at 40, at 50, at 60, still sweeping, still searching, still empty. And a thought entered my mind that I had never allowed myself to think before. What if I did like this? The moment that thought formed, my eyes grew heavy. I do not know if I fell asleep or if something else happened. But suddenly I was no longer in that bedroom. I was standing in darkness. Complete, absolute darkness. The kind of dark that feels thick, that presses against you, that seems alive. And then I became aware of sounds. Distant at first but growing louder. Screaming. Wailing. Sounds of anguish that I cannot adequately describe. Sounds that were not just heard but felt, like they vibrated in my chest. The darkness began to take shape. I realized I was standing at the edge of something. A pit, a chasm, I do not know what to call it but it went down further than I could say, and from its depths came heat and stench and horrible, horrible sounds. And I knew where I was. I did not say a thing no one told me. I just knew with absolute certainty that I was looking into hell. The fear that gripped me was unlike anything I have ever experienced. It was not like a fear in a movie or fear during a close call in traffic. This was existential terror. The kind that makes you aware of your soul in a way you have never been aware before. Every nerve in my body was screaming. Every instinct told me to flee. But I was frozen, rooted to that spot, forced to witness what lay before me. The heat was oppressive. Not like a hot summer day. This was a heat that seemed to penetrate into my bones, into my very being. And the smell. I cannot adequately describe its sulfur, yes, but also decay. The smell of death that had been dying for eternity. And the sounds. The screaming never stopped. It was not the screaming of people in temporary pain, like someone who had been injured. This was the screaming of souls in permanent anguish. Hopeless. Endless. There was no relief coming. There was no rescue on the way. This was forever. I wanted to run but I could not move. I wanted to scream but I had no voice. I could only stand there and witness. And then I became aware of figures in the pit. People. Countless people writhing in torment. And as I looked at him, I began to see their faces. Some of them I recognized. There were people from the apps. People I had met, people I had used and been used by. Their faces twisted in agony, reaching upward toward something they could never grasp. And then I saw a space. An empty space among them. And I knew, with that same terrible certainty, that the space was reserved for me. That was where I was headed. That was my destination. All the sweeping, all the chasing, all the empty encounters, they were leading me here. Thought his pit. Thought his eternal emptiness that made me earthly emptiness seem like nothing. I tried to scream. I tried to cry out to God. And the moment it hooked his name, everything shifted. Suddenly there was light. Not the harsh light of exposure but a warm, golden light that seemed to push back the darkness. And in that light I felt a presence. A presence of such overwhelming love that it brought me to my knees. I did not see a face. I did not hear an audible voice. But there was a communication, a knowing, that went straight to my heart. I have been waiting for you to call on me. That was it, that was all. But those words carried more weight than any sermon I had ever heard, any scripture I had ever read. God had been waiting. All through my rebellion, all through my running, all through my years of chasing emptiness, he had been waiting for me to turn around. And then I felt something else. The depth of my sin. Not as a list of rules I had broken, but as a relational wound. I felt how my choices had grieved the heart of a father who loved me. I felt the weight of using people who were created in his image, of treating sacred things as common, of trading his design for my destruction. I wept. I wept in a way I had not wept since I was a child. Deep, heaving sobs had seemed to come from somewhere below my stomach. Years of suppressed guilt and shame pouring out. And in the midst of that weeping, I felt something I did not deserve. Forgiveness. Waves of forgiveness washing over me, not because I had earned it, but because of a grace I could not comprehend. Then I woke up. I was back in that dark bedroom, gasping for air, drenched in sweat. The woman beside me stirred but did not wake. I grabbed my clothes and left. I do not think I even closed the door behind me. I drove home in a daze. I walked into my apartment, fell to my knees in my living room, and I surrendered. I said, God, I am done. I am done running. I am done hiding. I am done pretending I can do this on my own. I do not know how to change, but I am asking you to change me. Take my life. Take all of it. I would rather than keep living like it is. That prayer, those words, were the most honest words I had ever spoken. For the first time in my life, I was not performing. I was not going through religious motions. I was a desperate man crying out to the only one who could save him. And God met me there. The change did not happen overnight. I wish I could tell you that I prayed that prayer and never struggled again. That would be a lie. The patterns I had built over 5 years had carved deep grooves in my brain. The addiction did not just disappear because I had a spiritual experience. But something was different. I was different. The first thing I did was delete every app from my phone. All of them. I did not try to moderate. I did not tell myself I would use them responsibly. I shut them off completely. That phone had been my portal to destruction. I turned it into a tool for recovery. The next thing I did was tell someone. I told a friend from my old church, a guy I had not talked to in years. I told him everything. The apps, the encounters, the vision, the surrender. I laid it all out fully expecting him to judge me, to reject me. Instead, he wept with me. He told me he was proud of me for being honest. He asked if he could pray for me. And then he said something that shocked me. He said, I have struggled with the same thing. That was when I realized I was not alone. I was not unequally broken. There were countless men trapped in the same cycle, hiding behind the same shame, desperate for the same freedom. My friend connected me with a recovery group at a local church. A group of men who met every week to share their struggles, their victories and their defeats. Men who held each other accountable. Men who understood. Walking into that first meeting was one of the hardest things I have ever done. But it was also one of the most important. Because isolation is where addiction thrives. Secrecy is its oxygen. And community is its antidote. I remember sitting in that circle of folding chairs, looking around at the other men. Some were older, some were my age, some were younger. Addiction does not discriminate. It takes anyone who opens the door. When it was my turn to share, my voice shook. I told them about the apps. I told them about the vision. I told them about the shame I had carried for 5 years. And when I finished, something happened that I did not expect. They thanked me for my honesty. They told me I was brave. And then, on by on, they shared their own stories. And I realized that every man in that room understood exactly what I was going through. I was not alone. For the first time in years, I was not alone. Those meetings became my lifeline. Every week, I would show up and be honest. I would share my victories and my failures. And slowly I started to heal. I also started seeing a Christian counselor. Someone who could help me understand the wounds beneath the behavior. Why I craved validation so desperately. Why intimacy terrified me. Why I had built walls that only let people close enough to them. The counseling was painful. It required me to go back to my childhood, to examine the relationship with my father, to face the emptiness I had been running from my whole life. But it was necessary. Because you cannot defeat an addiction by just addressing the behavior. You have to address the root. What I discovered was that my addiction was never really about the physical encounters. It was about medicating pain I did not want to feel. It was about filling a void that only God was meant to fill. It was about searching for love in places where love should never be found. As I did the hard work of recovery, something miraculous began to happen. The craving started to diminish. Not disappear, but diminish. The empty feeling that had driven me for years started to fill with something real. Something lasting. For the first time in my adult life, I started to experience genuine peace. Not the temporary high of validation, but deep, abiding peace that did not depend on my circumstances. I also started to experience genuine connection. Real friendships with people who knew my darkest secrets and loved me anyway. The vulnerability I had feared my whole life became the doorway to intimacy I had been searching for. And my relationship with God transformed. He was no longer a distant concept or a set of rules to follow. He was a father who had pursued me into my darkest places and brought me out. He was a savior who had shown me the pit I was headed toward and then rescued me from it. He was a friend who walked with me through recovery, who celebrated my victories and picked me up after my failures. I started reading the Bible again. Not as a religious obligation, but as a lifeline. I would wake up in the morning and spend time in scripture before I did anything else. Those words that had seemed so dead to me growing up suddenly came alive. They spoke directly to my situation. They gave me hope when I felt hopeless. They reminded me of who I was in Christ when the shame tried to define me. I started praying differently too. Not the rote prayers I had learned as a child, but real conversations with God. I would tell Him everything. My fears, my failures, my cravings, my gratitude. I learned that he could handle me honesty. He was not surprised by my struggles. He already knew everything and loved me anyway. And I started serving others. I found that one of the best ways to break free from the self-obsession of addiction was to focus on helping someone else. I volunteered at my church. I mentored younger men who were struggling with similar issues. I discovered that my mess had become my message. The very things that had shamed me became tools for helping others find freedom. That vision of hell, I have talked about it many times since it had nicht. I do not know if it was a dream, a vision or something else entirely. What I do know is that it was a gift. A terrifying, merciful gift. God showed me where I was headed so that I would choose a different path. He let me glimpse the destination of my choices so that I would turn around. That vision was not condemnation. It was love. The fiercest, most determined love, refusing to let me destroy myself without effect. Some people might question whether the vision was real. Some might say it was just my subconscious processing guilt. I understand those objections. But I know what I experienced. And I know the fruit it produced in my life. A hallucination does not lead to a lasting transformation. A guilty conscience does not produce 4 years of sustained recovery. What happened that nicht was supernatural, and the change it produced in me is the evidence. It has been 4 years since it had nicht. 4 years of recovery. 4 years of growth. 4 years of learning what real life looks like. I am not going to tell you that I am perfect. I still have days when the old cravings surface. I still have moments when the enemy whispers that just on a look would not hurt. But I have tools now. I have a community. I have accountability. And I have a God who is greater than my weakness. If you are watching this and you are trapped in the same cycle I was trapped in, I want you to know something. There is hope. There is freedom. There is a way out. The ups, the endless sweeping, the hollow encounters, they are promising you something they cannot deliver. They are offering connection but delivering isolation. They are offering fulfillment but delivering emptiness. They are offering life but leading you toward death. I know becaus I lived it. I know becaus I gave 5 years of my life to that lie. But I also know the truth now. The truth is that you were created for more. You were created for real intimacy, real connection, real love. You were created for relationship with the God who made you and knows you and loves you despite everything you have done. Jesus said he came to give us life and life abundantly. That is not religious language. That is reality. The life he offers is better than anything those apps can provide. It is deeper, richer, more satisfying than any temporary thrill. But you have to cause it, you have to be willing to delete the apps, to get honest with someone, to do the hard work of recovery. Freedom is not free, but it is worth everything it costs. I almost ended up in a pit of eternal emptiness. I almost traded my soul for a few years of fleeting validation. But God in His mercy showed me the truth before it was too late. He can do the same for you. Whatever pit you are standing at the edge of right now, whatever cycle has you trapped, whatever shame is keeping you silent, God is waiting. He has been waiting your whole life. And all it takes is on a honest cry, on a desperate prayer, on a moment of surrender. Call on His name. He will answer. He answered me on the worst night of my life, in the darkest place I had ever been. And He will answer you too. That is my testimony. That is what the apps almost cost me, and what Jesus saved me from. He is real. Hell is real. And the choice we make about who we follow determines where we end up. I chose Jesus. And I have never looked back.